for me, it's very important that I speak my truth, that I do what I do. Even when I'm singing Portuguese, like I know that people wish to understand what I'm singing about. But I know that a country like Canada, with so many indigenous languages, with English and French, with, so many people who speak Italian, who speak Portuguese. Like for me, speaking Portuguese, I'm actually contributing to Canada in a way that not many people are.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Innersleeve, the podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. I'm Cassius Morris, the legend himself, Joe Pacheco, joining me on the line. What's up, Joe?
Did you see my eyes pop out of my face?
The legend, man. We got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, just this is proof that nothing is ever that prepared when we do these things.
Curveball, my friend, curveball. We're thrilled to be joined today by Bruno Capinan on episode number 74 of the podcast. Their new record, Tara Rara, is available everywhere now. And this was quite the episode, all-encompassing. I mean, from everything from the musicality, putting together the artwork for the album, to fleeing Brazil to Canada to find a better life. I mean, this was a pretty wild one, Joe.
Yeah, it was definitely an eye-opener, from someone who rarely experienced bullying and to see what they had to go through, and to the fact that they mentioned that they wanted to escape their country of Brazil, which is...
Using that word specifically, escape.
Yeah, and they ended up in Toronto, Canada, which is like... very cold contrast to such a nice tropical country that Brazil is. But they found a nice warm and reception here in Canada, so that makes me really happy.
Real quick before we jump into this episode, if you enjoy what you're seeing on SoundMojo, make sure to go check us out in our merch shop online. The link is in the description below. We have everything from phone cases to pillowcases to t-shirts, hoodies. The list goes on, and I must say, these are quite comfortable.
Yep.
Some sad news in the world of metal today. The frontman of the Black Dahlia Murder, Trevor Strnad, we apologize if we're saying the last name wrong, has passed away at the age of 41 due to self-inflicted injury. Now, this is a really sad one, Joe, but I'm not sure if we can say this was completely unexpected given the context of this story, sadly.
Well, I've heard of this band forever, just never got around to finally digging into their catalog. But when this came across my feed on my phone and I read the article in question, and it was really sad, man. I mean, he himself was well aware of the alcohol dependency, the fact that he had depression, and he tried many times to get over it. I mean, even to the point where he said, at the rate I drink when we're on tour, it's not sustainable for getting older, It's to the point where I'm having 10 drinks a day plus just to get on stage. And 2 weeks into it, I've been hungover every single day. I'm chasing the hangover more and more with liquor until the end of the tour. I've doubled my intake just to get by. And it's not fun. It's disgusting and it sucks. And that was an interview in April 2021 with Metal Injection. I mean, when I read these things, it's like, wow, man, it's tough, when and you've tried. He's tried. He went through 8 months of not drinking and stuff, but I mean, eventually it got back to him, and it's totally a sad story. I mean, I don't know, I couldn't find any details of how he took his life, but I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Well, I do know the other aspect of this too was he lost his mother when he was 40, so I guess this was a year ago, and it evidently was completely unexpected. And the one quote I saw from him was, he said, "Even at 40, it still hurts. I feel like a lost child. We were very close," or a lost little kid, I think he said. So, I mean, lots of factors leading up to this. And, it's sad, Joe, because it seems like as many of these rock stars have, gotten sober, a lot of them have quit and gotten their act together. It seems like there's a lot of guys suffering more so in silence still, especially in the rock and metal world.
I think it's just human nature. Some people share, some people maybe drop hints that we don't catch. There's we've all seen it, right? Especially on social media now, where people do share some stuff, Another thing, he battled with depression, and he's the front man of a band, and he was handling their social media. So he would see all the people, again, I'm going to quote him, "We're not a boy band. I'm not supposed to be fucking handsome," He goes, "But people berate you. I can't tell you how many times I've been called fat on the internet. It's insane. Literally. You got to have a thick skin to do what I do. But it wears you down over time. Of course, man. You're human, man. Anyways, doing all the social media myself. So on top of that, he actually is doing the social media, so he gets the brunt of,
straight from the source.
Exactly, so it's accumulated in some self-doubt, it's accumulated in more anxiety for me, and as the band has gotten bigger and bigger, there are more eyes and more pressure, you know?
Very sad indeed, and we definitely send our condolences to the entire family and, of course, every member of the Black Dahlia Murder. SoundMojo is with you guys, and definitely rest in peace. NBA YoungBoy is currently making headlines for refusing to re-sign with Atlantic Records amidst a $25 million offer from the label. Now, this comes directly after a string of sort of controversial quotes from YoungBoy. One of them was he came out and said he wanted all of his music completely banned off YouTube from anybody reacting. So yes, Joe, that means us. And he says those people need to get a real job. So that was his first bit of anger, which why is he saying screw us for, Joe? I don't think we did anything wrong.
No, but I mean, if anything, it's free publicity, right?
Well, that's the thing too, right? He should be happy people are playing it. But I mean, apparently he does not have any interest in re-signing. So this quote comes from DJ Academics, of course, a popular YouTuber in the hip-hop scene. He says, NBA YoungBoy is leaving. He will not be re-signing. He didn't like their offers. I can tell you they offered him like $25 million and he turned it down. Academics continued, he doesn't want it, he's good. He don't want the money, he doesn't want to be in a record deal anymore with Atlantic, he wants to be completely free. So Joe, I mean, to me this makes sense. When you really look at the career trajectory of NBA YoungBoy, he's an artist who has risen to massive fame and fortune pretty much on his own regard. I mean, he's been signed to labels, but when you look at his career, he's almost been blackballed by those labels. He doesn't get mainstream promotion, he gets no mainstream radio play. But he's a massive artist and one of the first artists to actually come through and break Drake's recent records. So, I mean, let's say, Joe, this is you. You have that kind of heat on your own. Are you re-signing to a record label if you don't really need it?
Hell no. If I have that kind of money already burning a hole in my pocket or my bank account, I definitely wouldn't want. I would side with him in the sense that, if he, like you said, if he could do it pretty much, he had label help for sure, but I mean, if he can do it pretty much on his own, now he's established, and now with this whole, NFTs and like metaverse stuff, I mean, you could do what you want with it. Look, Snoop made 21 million in a day, dropping his new album. So, I mean, 25 million and you're locked into a deal, probably multiple albums, multiple years, So, no, I totally, at that level, but turning down a 25 million record deal if it's your first album or second album, I mean, I don't think you'll ever get that kind of money, but whatever. But yeah, I definitely agree with him.
Yeah, I agree with him too. I think it's a good thing. The thing with an artist like YoungBoy compared to a lot of these other artists that are part of the label machine is that those artists get built up to look a lot bigger, but when you have hard ticket sales, when you have hard streams, when you are actually profiting off your masters, you're making a lot more money than these guys. So, YoungBoy is 22 years old. His net worth is estimated at $6 to $10 million, and that's in hard cash. That's not just in assets. So that's pretty good, Joe. So I think you might be right.
Yeah, and like you said, if you own your own masters, then you're free to do whatever you want. So he could turn around and license it for movies and make some serious money and forever, So I mean, he's in a good place, man.
No doubt. The iconic music of Pink Floyd has started a bidding war between two record labels. Now, of course, at the moment, this is just a report, but apparently the bidding could top $500 million between Warner Music and BMG, competing for the exclusive rights of Pink Floyd's entire musical catalog. Now, Joe, I know $500 million is not quite cheap, but we're talking about one of the most iconic catalogs in music here. Is this on par here?
It's good question, man, because I didn't even this is rumors still, but I mean, if it's getting this far, it's most likely true, right? But I didn't even know this was a possibility of I figured Roger Waters is so ardent in his controlling his own stuff. I didn't even know, maybe that's what's sort of holding things up. I don't know, but my first impression was that's not enough. I mean, I was
we need $1 billion.
It's Pink Floyd, but I mean, it's right up there, right? For Bruce Springsteen got almost 500 million, if not 500.
I think it was 500. Yeah, David Bowie got close to that.
Yeah, so I don't know, for me, it's a personal thing, but I would think it would be even bigger, Pink Floyd, just for the vast amount of catalog that they have, and I mean, just Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Animals, Wish You Were Here. These are all ridiculous, massive albums. That's only 4 I named, right? So there's a lot more.
The potential of it is staggering, really.
Yeah, that's it, right? So it's and it's funny because if you wanted to know how relevant they still are in comparison to those that have sold that have sold like their catalogs already, let's say like Bowie and stuff. I mean, just a week ago, they released their first track in 28 years. So that'll tell you something. And they got 15.21 million monthly listeners, whereas on Spotify, we're talking here, whereas, there's 14 million for Springsteen, 9.1 for Bob Dylan, who also sold his catalog, and 9.9 for Sting, sold his catalog.
Wow. So they're definitely better known.
Exactly. So like they're definitely up there, like, so it's definitely interesting, like, I mean, I wouldn't want, like, personally, I also like, I wouldn't want, let's say, Walmart to own their catalog. I mean, this is Warner Music, so at least their labels. There is another label that came in at the time of us recording. I saw a report, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like, what do you think? Do you think this is like good? Is this, good for the Pink Floyd's music?
At the end of the day, I hope it is, because it really depends what they use it for. I remember in the early days of this show, we covered a story about Roger Waters getting furious about, not letting their music be in a Facebook commercial. Exactly. So what I'm wondering is that all going to go out the window, and now we're going to see Pink Floyd in bank and, tampon commercials? I mean, when is it going to end? But, I think if they use it appropriately, if they use it for some cool stuff, it would be cool to have that in culture. Because, for example, one of my first exposures to hard rock was, Black Dog by Led Zeppelin being played in a TELUS commercial. So, I think at a certain point it can be cool to help introduce audience, even though the older fans are going to be like, oh, you guys are selling out, this sucks, which is also sort of true. Yeah,
I mean, but it's to each their own, right? Like they've earned this, like by just writing great music and over the years and performing and being themselves. But me too. I'm always afraid of like you said, it's funny because you said tampon commercial. I was thinking, underwear, Dark Side of the Moon, ha ha ha.
Exactly, joke, right? Fruit of the Loom is calling now.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I don't want to hear that stuff. And at the same time, it's like, you're right about like the fact that like it will maybe, I don't know. I don't think they really need help getting to a younger audience, because I think word of mouth is still just
as strong timeless
as anything else. Yeah.
I think they're more so timeless than most bands. Like Pink Floyd, you don't really hear people talking about them being dated because they were so ahead of their time, people haven't even caught up yet.
I mean, look, they released their first song in 28 years. So
it's insane, man.
I can't even believe
and people
that,
still wear the T-shirts. They still have that prism on their wall every single day all over the world.
Well, it's like anything else, right? Zeppelin, all those, even, like now we've seen all these Kardashians wearing Slayer shirts and stuff. It's become what it is, but I mean, more money to them. Happy. He's my favorite guitar player, so it's like, yeah.
Amen. Netflix are considering some bold moves after losing the vast majority of their loyal subscribers. Now, this is interesting because it's taking Netflix more towards the popular territory of live OTT and all the different sort of streaming television that we're seeing now. So Netflix is considering adding not only live content that could be one-offs, potential series, but also concerts and music festivals as well, which could open up a whole world of opportunity for the music people, Joe.
Yeah, and my question is, like, why haven't they done this already, right?
It's true. It's a good idea, and it's almost a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes sense too, and what's cool is like, during the pandemic, we've all been locked home and we all got into watching live streaming concerts and stuff. And, there's like, the advantage here is that like, if my favorite artist is playing, it doesn't come to my city or my country, I can at least watch, on Netflix, and participate. I like the fact that like it'll be live streaming too. So like the festivals is cool, that's, I wonder if they would charge more for that, because I know there's rumors about ads and stuff coming in now. So I wonder, would they charge extra to be able to go? Cause like you're not paying to go see, let's say, Lollapalooza, let's say, would they have? Would there be an extra charge for that? I'm not sure.
A digital admission, almost, so to speak. I mean, that's a good question. I know a lot of these festivals, they currently stream for free on YouTube, but I mean, it's to be seen if that's going to last either. I'm sure that the vast majority of these things that are free to stream are not going to be in the future. One question I could ask you, Joe, is do you think that if Netflix can manage to get, let's say, the Grammys live or even the Oscars live, taking it, to movies and pop culture, do you think that will help re-energize their following, or do you think that they're just sort of too far gone at this point?
Oh, I think that's a good question, man. I think that's a good point too. Like, I think it will help them. It won't. I don't think it'll hurt them.
It's not going to hurt, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll help for sure now. Like, is it going to bring back the numbers to the golden era of these shows? Probably not. But I mean, what's cool is like if they leave it up there, right? So like you can see it. You don't have to see it the day of. You can see it, for the whole week or whatever it is, So that would be cool. Because I'd love to actually go back and see previous Grammy Awards if they were taped, right? Like, and go see some performances from artists that aren't
the whole
around
catalog.
anymore. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that stuff too.
Now, which festival or concert do you think would go best for this? Do you think it would be a thing where it's individual artists, or would you rather see a bunch of people at a fest or something?
Either or, I guess, for me.
I think it could be cool. I'd like to see something like, I know Kanye and Drake, they did their concerts, it was exclusively streamed on Amazon Music. It was directed by, I think, the director of The Joker. So like, if we were to bring stuff like that to Netflix, I think that would be incredible and definitely raise that exclusivity. Because, I think the Oscars was on Paramount Plus. All these things are on random services. If we could get it to the hub, it would be ideal, I think.
Yeah, and like, even for Netflix, right? Like, they have so many competition now, right? They were in the game really early on. No one was even a close competitor. But now, like you said, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Apple TV, now they have a run for their money. And even myself, I've been contemplating sort of like pulling the plug on it. I've had it for probably 10, 12 years now.
Wow.
Just mindlessly paying it. I mean, I use it a bit, but like I don't use it as much as I used to. So
did you start with DVDs from them?
No, I actually got onto the streaming PS3. It was the app was there and just like stream the movies, and it was great.
Now we're going to jump into our chat with Bruno Capinan. I want to thank them again for taking the time to join us on the show, and make sure to check out that new record, Tara Rara, in the description below, whether you're tuned in on video or audio. And wherever you're tuned in, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well for more content. Let's jump in and we'll catch you guys afterwards.
Me arrasta pra qualquer lugar.
Bruno Capinan, welcome to Innersleeve.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, 100%. I know this is sort of a ramp-up period for you. You have the new record, Tara Rara, dropping on May 13th. What's the feeling like right now coming up to the record release and really just the overall vibe?
Just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a good way, or?
Yeah, and releasing another album, it's like it's almost like giving birth. I don't know what giving birth feels like.
But what you would imagine it feels like.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it's anything like giving birth, though, to be honest. Not to insult her. Yeah, no. I've been there twice. Not myself, but with my wife. I've been there. It's not the same.
These are the facts. So, Tara Rara, that is actually, there's a meaning for this in English, correct? Maybe tell us about the meaning of the album name and what it means to you.
Yeah, translation would be rare desire, or a desire that's bigger than anything else. And the idea for this album, the conceptual idea of it, it's from a dream that I had of two black men in a slave ship boat, and they met. And from that picture, from that image of a place of torture, of pain, was born the idea of love as well in that circumstances, of being enslaved and being black and being queer in a time that anyone was talking about it, probably.
100%. Do you draw a lot of inspiration from your dreams, or is this more or less stuff that you think about a lot during the daytime that maybe just translated to a dream?
I think during COVID, during the pandemic, that's when I started having more dreams. Crazy dreams.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Dreams of like seeing what happened with George Floyd and seeing what happened with Black people in Brazil with COVID. It just was something that kept playing my mind, even when I was sleeping. That how is it possible that even during a pandemic, things like that can still happen, to us?
100%. And you're Toronto-based, is that correct?
Yeah. For the past 20 years.
So were you born in Brazil?
I was born in Brazil. I was born in Bahia, which is, they call the Black Rome.
The Black Rome. Nice.
And it's the place where we we probably received the largest number of Africans, enslaved people, in the whole globe, I think.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, at what point did you make the transition? I mean, when did you leave Brazil and why did you leave?
So there was, I think in 2001, I started thinking about it. I started thinking about leaving and I had no idea how.
Okay, yeah.
I want to escape. I want to go somewhere. And it has to be somewhere completely the opposite of Brazil, completely the opposite of Bahia, where I'm from. And then from that moment on, I was very obsessed with the idea of leaving. So I started planning how to escape, and then I came to Toronto to study in 2002, just after 9/11. That's when I decided that Toronto would be the place because it was still relatively peaceful, and hostile as much as everywhere else. And then I came to Toronto. And then to study, I decided to stay. And it was hard in the beginning because my immigration process after I applied was denied. And I had 1 month to be deported. It was very stressful. And then I got to stay, and I'm Canadian, Brazilian.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you have family already here?
No, I had no one.
Wow.
0 friends, family, nobody.
And
Did not speak. The only words I spoke are I don't speak English.
Wow.
Probably like that, but was more close to that. Like books on the table.
is it everything you expected, or like did it work out? Like, is it a good move?
Yeah, it's like looking back, like I'm always looking back and, like questioning if I made the right decision. And I think like I'm 100% I did make the right decision. It was weird that when I first got here, when I first arrived, Toronto seemed to be very familiar. It seemed very familiar to me. It seemed like a place that I've been before, maybe because of the movies that I watched growing up, the American movies, so it felt very familiar. And also it felt very welcoming, when I discovered the gay street, when I discovered the bars for the first time and I discovered I could just be myself. It was very, very familiar to me.
So had you heard before moving that Canadians were nice people because we're known as nice people? Is that so? I guess is that sort of true?
I didn't hear that. I had no clue whatsoever how people be in Canada. But the first day, like my first day in school, I think I arrived on a Saturday and I went to school the next Monday. And I got lost the first day. And it was so cold outside. It was like beginning of, it was the end of March, April. It was still really cold. It was where I'm from. Because I was like 20 degrees the whole year.
Yeah.
And I got lost. And then somebody rescued me. This guy with his 3 kids in the car saw that I was, desperate, lost. And then he put me in his car and took me home.
Nice.
So from that day, I realized, shit, I'm in the right place.
Yeah, that's wow. Were you doing music already before coming to?
Not professionally. I was writing. I started writing when I was 14. I came when I was 19.
Nice.
And I wasn't doing it professionally. When I first got to Toronto, I started going to open mics and doing my bossa nova style, like play with the acoustic guitar and singing. I did not know the chords for the songs, but I just improvised. So that's how I started, basically, in Toronto.
And was it well received? Like, because it's not often you see a lot of bossa nova or samba kind of stuff in open mics.
People are a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Because in open mics, it's more like rock, indie pop, so people are like, what is this doing?
That's cool, though. You're shaking it up, shaking the snow globe, so to speak, right? I mean, it can't always be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating thing, too. So, I mean, just real quick, while we're talking about the relocating, what exactly was the reason that you became so fascinated with leaving Brazil? I mean, was it just you needed a change of scenery or were there things going on that you wanted to avoid? Because you mentioned the word escape.
Yeah. So I grew up, I don't know if you know much about Brazil, but Brazil is one of the most dangerous countries for LGBTQ. It's number one in trance killing. Like in my time is old now. It was very hostile. It still is, but at the time, I didn't grow up in a family that was very accepting of who I am. So I didn't feel safe even at home.
Wow.
At school, I was really bullied. The principal for my school, when I was 12, called in my mom and told my mom to take me to a doctor to get male hormones because I was very, very feminine. And, she thought she could change me. And then my mom also agreed, thought that she could change me. And my dad agreed, so it was just like a snowball of mental torture at the time. But I was fortunate that I realized from an early age that being queer was a blessing. Being different. For me, it was all about being different, being unique, being weird. I celebrated my kookiness, my weirdness when people are very against it, Because for me, it was me versus them. So whatever they didn't like, I had to embrace and make my power, So that was like the reason why I left, basically.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Have you gone back since?
I spent 8 years without going back.
Okay.
Almost 8 without going back. And since 2008, I think. Well, 2009, actually, I've been going back and forth quite a bit because of music as well. And I have gay friends now. I have a community there. So it feels safer, But at the time when I was young, I didn't know anyone, And everyone was in the closet as well. Like now you see young people coming out of the closet, coming out really young, like 14, 13. But at my time, there wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it's such a sad thing, honestly, at the end of the day. It's sad that you had to go through that and people go through that every day,
Yeah.
So how does that affect you artistically? I mean, when it comes to making your work, because I know there's a lot of sort of heavy themes of empowerment and awareness in your work. I mean, how does that go hand in hand for you?
I think like being who I am, it has to be reflected in what I do. First of all, because it's very political. Arts, as Nina Simone would say, like we have to reflect our lives, politically. And art is a part of that. For me, it would be very selfish if I didn't put the work into what I do, the work of supporting other people to follow my footsteps, And when I say that, I don't take it like for me, it's very important, that I speak my truth, that I do what I do. Even when I'm singing Portuguese, like I know that people wish to understand what I'm singing about. But I know that a country like Canada, with so many indigenous languages, with English and French, with, so many people who speak Italian, who speak Portuguese. Like for me, speaking Portuguese, I'm actually contributing to Canada in a way that not many people are,
Yeah.
That is diversity. That is multiculturalism, as we like to call and say that Canada is a multicultural country. Like for me, it's a political act, Just even like talking about it and bringing to my songs and making the themes of the album very gender fluid as they are, even though they're in Portuguese, people can just learn.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that it's like political, but yet the music is so contrasting, it's very peaceful, very soft. So it's very inviting, and someone may be just listening to it. I love the fact that it's also, you stick to Portuguese because we have enough English everywhere, right? So it's like, we need that. I'm sure you also you've done them, I'm sure in English as well, but I mean like, it's just like, what's the word, like organic nature, authentic is what I'm trying to say, is like, when you hear samba and bossa nova, I mean, I got introduced to it through electronica music, right? The lounge and that kind of stuff, Brasil electro compilations, and I loved it. I've always heard it, but I never really dove into it until I heard that. And I always associate it as like almost like a warm hug. It just makes you feel comfortable, that the whole sound is so acoustically warm. It's, I don't know, I just big fan of it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like with Samba, Samba as an example, Bossa Nova was born from Samba, was influenced by Samba because Samba came before Bossa Nova. Samba came from the favelas of Rio and Bahia and from the Black community, from people who were, always oppressed. And even though the lyrics are very sad, it contrasts with the music. The music is very upbeat, and as I said, it feels like a hug. It feels like you want to move, you want to, move gently. And it is a contrast. And it's exactly what I'm trying to do. It's contrast with the pain, like bringing something constructive out of something so destructive. And that's what Samba was and is, And for me, it's a way of infiltrating as well. Like, you can't get to people's minds if you just, are always so aggressive,
Yeah.
People also need to be aggressive. But in my case, I could never be that person. So I gently try to get my message through.
And selective moments too, right? Like there's a time to, make like Rage Against the Machine, F you, I won't do what you tell me song. But then there's also a time to maybe work that subconscious too,
Yeah, for sure.
Olhe, meu preto, não posso mais viver longe de você. Meu preto, não posso mais viver longe de você.
So tell us about Qualquer Lugar, what's the song about? And I know you wrote it during the pandemic, but just let us know what it's about.
Amazing video too.
Yeah.
Thank you. This song, it was written during, I think, the early stages of COVID, 2020. And it's a song about, the celebration of who you are. And also meeting someone that you can be protected, with, that you can feel protected, but also that you can feel like you're in unison, When we filmed the video, the music video in Chapada Diamantina in Bahia, in the middle of like nature, out of nowhere. We have to hike for 3 hours to get to the top of a waterfall.
Wow.
And it was very overwhelming. It was very challenging to do it because we are constantly, afraid that we can fall from the top of something, or that we can be, beaten by a snake or something, or scorpion or something.
Yeah.
But it was the challenge that brought me to the experience of the music video. And this song, is produced by Vivian Kuczynski, who is a Brazilian Ukrainian producer, 17 years old at the time. Yeah, Vivian's been making music for the past 4 years, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, very young.
How did you end up meeting?
Online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just found her on Instagram. Saw that she was working with some people that I really liked as well, with some of my peers. And then that's it. I knew that she was queer and 17 years old. I didn't want anyone who was already full of influences and ideas of what Brazilian music should sound like. So she was fresh out of the boat. She had no clue what the artists that I was telling her to use as references. She had no idea who they are.
Okay.
So was
Blank slate.
Exactly.
What did she, her contributions, how did it influence, change the music for you?
For me, there was a contribution that she was, fresh, as I said, like a blank page pretty much. And she came from the electronic world as well, from electronic music, trap, you name it, all the electronic world she was very knowledgeable of. She had all the knowledge of exactly what I would mention to her, because I had no clue how to express myself for this and that song. So she just showed me examples. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I know. So it was also in that way that she also took everyone else's references and styles and brought into the mix when we went to studio. So you have the acoustic guitar, but you also have a synth that doesn't sound like anything like a synth, you know? Like it's very unique. So she brought that aspect of someone who did not know exactly how to go with the album in the production sense, but then it turned out to be, for me, like exactly what I expected, you know, music.
Yes. I find like, you know, I didn't know it came back from electronic background, but I'm saying like the fact that like she stayed true. I mean, like when I listen to the album, it doesn't sound like someone from electronic background produced it, right? So they didn't try to put their, like you said, a clean slate. So she really respected your vision in terms of like how it came across. It comes across as like very organic sounding, and it doesn't sound like you know, keyboards or synths, as you say.
Yeah. And she mixed it as well. Like she done the mixing.
Wow.
And for someone who is,
yeah,
you know, I think that's the first album that the first like MPB, the Brazilian album, like Samba, Bossa Nova that she produced was the first one in that music style. So for the first one, it's great.
And for live, like when you're going to be performing this live, are you still playing with the same musicians that you did on the recording, or like what are your plans?
Yeah, so more or less, Vivian will be with me on stage. I think in Brazil we'll have pretty much all three of the musicians that recorded the like bad tracks, because we recorded acoustic guitar, drums, percussions, and Vivian and myself. And then later on we added brass and strings, you know, the other elements there. Yeah. So on stage, I don't know if it's going to be everyone that played on the album, but I'll try to have, you know,
as many as you can.
Yeah, like it depends on how much.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. Right.
I can bring everyone, you know.
I mean, in terms of the recording process for this latest project too, I mean, recorded between Canada, France, Portugal, Brazil. I mean, sort of how did you piece together which parts would be recorded where, and how exactly did that work?
I kind of knew a lot of the musicians already that played, except for Vivian that I met like during, I think I met Vivian at the end of 2019 or beginning of 2020. Everyone else has already had some experience working with, and they're all like, you know, during COVID, they decided to go back home. So they live in Australia, in Melbourne, they live in Paris or in Portugal. And then in Brazil, Ben, who plays the acoustic guitar, he had access to a studio because his father is very famous in Brazil and have a studio. So he could go into studio and record his parts. So for me, that was very helpful because I could get the percussion there as well into the percussion.
Yeah.
Vivian to travel to Rio and record them in Rio because it was accessible to do. It was close to Sao Paulo. So for me, it was a challenge because I wasn't present, you know, for some of the recordings. But I had to trust, you know, my instinct. Yeah. I had to be like, you know what? My intuition is telling me to go with this person. My intuition is telling me to have strings on the album, you know, and that's how it happened.
Do you think that taught you a lot?
It did. I would say I actually like it better.
Interesting.
There's something
New
about
challenge.
Yeah, we recorded the strings in Toronto. We went to studio and recorded the strings and some of the brass, and it was fun as well. I loved it, but I also love during, you know, Zoom recordings when I'm just watching people work, telling them what to do, or I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just watching them, you know, do the magic.
How was it, like, basically the experience, like producing from another country?
It was sometimes painful. Like I freaked out a lot in the recording because I was trying to get my idea across, and sometimes, you know, it wouldn't be possible because people don't understand what I'm saying, or they're not getting it completely. But then, as I said, I had to trust Vivian to begin with. I had to trust that she was 17. Ben is 36. Marcelo Costa, who plays the percussion, he's in his 60s. So it was a very intergenerational album in that sense. And I had to trust them,
Yeah.
So I had to let it go as well of like some of my ideas, preconceived ideas of how I wanted the album to sound like. But at the end, it actually sounded better than what I envisioned.
Wow. That must be a pleasant surprise,
Yeah. It also taught me to be more chill about things.
Yeah, I know. Not to get in your own way kind of thing. Just sort of let, the process take care of itself.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, like, besides singing, like, do you play anything? Do you play any other instruments?
I play the guitar, but I had 2 bike accidents and I injured my left hand. So I haven't been playing. I stopped playing for a while. And then for the album, I think I played in 1 song only.
Okay.
But yeah, just the guitar and the sing. And some percussion as well.
Is there any instrument you'd want to play, like maybe a dream instrument that you wish you could learn or would like to learn one day?
The harp.
The harp? Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't think I'll ever play the harp, but that's my dream.
That's an elegant instrument. I mean, anybody who can play that just looks like a badass. So I definitely think that's cool.
Yeah, I love seeing PJ Harvey playing, like, not the harp, but she has like a small like harp that she plays. I don't know how you call it. But
Cool.
I love seeing her play there. And there's another singer too. I don't remember who plays the harp. I've always been fascinated because it's elegant, as I said,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Like, why are you playing bossa nova on the harp?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, that's like sparked something in my head of like, I don't think I've ever heard that.
It'd be cool.
Maybe it'll be my next step.
There you go.
There we go. The inception of the next single right here on SoundMojo. I know we asked about the dream instrument, maybe about a dream show. We like to ask this sometimes to people. Like, if you could have your dream concert at any venue with yourself and any other artists, who would it be?
Definitely the Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
Or the Massey Hall would be nice too in Toronto.
Any particular reason?
It's just beautiful, just to be like, of course, also playing the Coachella would be great.
Totally, right?
Maybe playing the Coachella with Billie Eilish would be like,
Wow.
There you go.
And then an artist that I think probably the top of my mind would be Bjork.
Wow.
Bjork? Okay, nice.
Collaborating with Bjork would be amazing.
I could see that happening actually, because like I could picture you, the harp, Billie Eilish, and Bjork playing at Coachella.
At Coachella, there you go.
Coachella.
That's 2023.
Yep.
Yes.
So legendary. Yeah, fingers crossed. Exactly. So, Joe, what should we do? Should we jump into a list, or do you want to?
Yeah, go
All
for
right,
it.
let's do it. So here at Watch Mojo, of course, we're known very well for our top 10 lists. So we definitely wanted to pull one up and get your reaction to it, Bruno. So this one here is the top 10 places you have to visit in Brazil. And we wanted, before revealing the top 3, we just wanted to know if you could either guess the top 3 or give us your personal top 3 of places you have to visit.
I want to guess the top 3.
Okay.
I would say number 3 would be Foz do Iguaçu, like the Iguaçu Falls.
Okay.
People, wanted to go. Number 2 would be Rio de Janeiro. And number 1 would be Bahia. I know that you guys didn't put Bahia on number 1.
Yeah.
From Rio.
Okay. Interesting. I like this. Okay. So go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, well, you got number 2, right? Rio de Janeiro for sure. Number 2. Number 3 was São Paulo.
Okay.
Number 1, this is something I've never heard of. Foz do Iguaçu.
That's the one that I said. That was my number 3. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How do you,
Iguaçu. The Iguaçu.
So number 3 was
okay.
number 1.
So I feel very offended that you guys didn't put Bahia number 1 or at least number 3.
Well,
Because that's where I'm from.
There you go. See, Joe, we got to make some changes on the list, man.
seriously.
So my top 3 would be definitely, I would say Rio. You have to go to Rio, Number 2, I would say Chapada Diamantina, where I filmed the music video. And then number 1 would be Salvador, Bahia.
Nice.
Because it's where I'm from, where I was born. But also, it's where Brazil was discovered by the Portuguese, or that's where Brazil started as a Portuguese colony.
Yeah.
I mean, for indie artists in Brazil too, just curious, like before you left, I mean, how could you describe the scene there for up and coming artists? Is there really a scene, or what's it like musically?
There is. It's a very competitive country when it comes to music because there are a lot of talented people. Like everyone sings, everyone plays an instrument. It's so, it's such a creative country, such artistic as well. And I think when I left, there was already a scene that was concentrated in Bahia, where I'm from. The pop music at the time was very much Afrocentric at the time. But then towards, I think, like the 2000s, you see that shifting. So it became much more Americanized. And right now there is a huge music scene, like indie, pop, rock, you name it. And I think I would say pretty much 95% of the artists in Brazil are independent, maybe more. But they're self-managed.
Wow.
They're doing really well. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, I was just to wrap up, I was thinking, like, with all the experiences you've gone through and all the bullying, discrimination, what would you tell today? What would you tell the 15-year-old you? The 15-year-old Bruno?
Ooh.
Hang in there? Like, what would you say?
This feels like RuPaul's Drag Race. When RuPaul asked them, what would you tell the 5-year-old?
Yeah.
We got to get more questions from Ru.
Yeah, seriously.
I would say to just trust your intuition, don't second guess, because I think I'm very fearless in what I do. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing what I do, but I would say just don't fear as much as you do, because that's exactly what people want you to do. To fear your instincts, to fear your intuition. So I'll tell my 15-year-old to not fear as much.
It's awesome.
That's incredible. I love that. Bruno, thank you so much for your time. The new record is going to be dropping May 13th. Is there anything you want to let people know about it, or things that people can expect from you?
I'll just say, listen to the album and let me know what you think.
Awesome. We'll definitely have them do that. And we'll have the links in the description below to follow Bruno on all of their platforms. Thank you so much for your time again. We really appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Me arrasta pra qualquer lugar.
We want to give a huge shout out to Bruno for joining us on the podcast today. It was awesome hearing their perspective about really just life in general. As we mentioned off the top, this wasn't, the podcast where the whole thing was cheery, all smiles. There was some tough stuff discussed, but I think it's really important that we discuss this because, I think we can get so locked into our own worldview and the way things are for us, we can forget about the challenges that a lot of people have to face out there every single day still.
100%. Like that was, you hear about this stuff, but we really don't know what they go through with bullying and and wanting to leave your country. That's for me is like, it's not like it was a war going on where you have to sort of leave. This is just like you have to finally just give themselves like a chance to at a new life, you know. And like I said off the top, I'm glad that they came to Canada, man. You know, like it just for me reinforces how, you know, this country is multi-diverse and you know, accepting of people. A cool thing like I liked is that they trusted a 17-year-old, almost nobody. Like, I don't mean that in a negative sense, in the sense of someone who is their first album, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And like, even like, it was funny. I had a good laugh when he was talking about producing over Zoom.
Yeah.
And they said like, that they would lose their patience sometimes because their ideas couldn't come across or whatever. So that, like, man, over Zoom, that would be rough. Like, we had Long Range Hustle that had like audio movers, so it's like a dedicated platform for recording full resolution audio, but Zoom over 2 countries, I don't know. It's
hard to even talk things out on Zoom, but to be making a record, I mean, that's insane. So I mean, yeah, the dedication is crazy. And also, like, Bruno rolls with the punches. That's one thing I notice about them, just rolling with the punches. Seems to be able to take a lot on their plate and just push through it, you know. And I think that's a really important thing for artists. Resilience is something you're gonna need in this business, and you know, me and Joe could tell you that.
yeah. And like, were you familiar with bossa nova, samba, Afro jazz, that kind of stuff?
I'm familiar with it by knowing about it. I'm not familiar with it by, I couldn't tell you the songs. That, you know, that's definitely an area that I'm interested in expanding too. Like, when it comes to love of music, love of drums and rhythm, I think that's a huge piece of it. So I mean, I learned a lot about it today, but definitely got to check out some playlists.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I wanted them on the show, because like it represents something we haven't really done, right? We've done a lot of rock, metal, rap, electronic, screaming, all that stuff, but we didn't have like this, you know, jazz. I love jazz, but like, you know, this soft Brazilian jazz. It's so like welcoming and warm, you know.
100%. It was so cool. And it was awesome for you guys to join us for this as well. We hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to Bruno Capinan. Shout out to Indoor Recess and all the good folks over there. Make sure to tap in with us on social media at SoundMojo. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. New uploads almost every single day. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well, youtube.com/SoundMojo. We have polls, we have community tabs. Basically any way we can find out what you guys want to see and hear on the show. We put it up there to get you guys' responses, so do not miss those. Also, make sure to check us out on our audio platforms on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Anywhere you can get your audio podcast, you can find Innersleeve, so make sure to subscribe there as well to check in with us on the go. Thanks so much for tuning into this brand new episode of Innersleeve. We'll catch you guys next week.